those employees in that side. And so those things are really, really critical. The other thing is looking at a side hustle is part of your ultimate, what I call your self-evaluation. And anyone who's an entrepreneur knows if you're not constantly looking at yourself, evaluating your businesses, how honest are you about how well your business is doing or not? And it's scary sometimes, particularly when you look at those numbers. If you are getting into the space of profitability and cash flow management, that is where you are actually saying, yes, I am an entrepreneur. I'm becoming a successful entrepreneur. Those are the cornerstones. And it's really the basis of scaling your business. So profitability is about sustainability. And I would ask all of you in the room, because I've been an entrepreneur 25 years. I'm still chasing my money. I think I just got some money in this morning. I was like, hallelujah. So are you chasing your money? Next slide. What makes a side hustle profitable? Well, you might be sitting there saying, well, that's easy. When there's money coming in and there's money left over, yeah, that's a really good measure too. But you really need to learn to love your numbers. What drives bringing that extra business home? If you're not measuring it, and I sit and every year I look at each side hustle on its own, I've got it structured so I can actually look at the expenses and look at the costs and I can measure the profit. And sometimes it's very depressing. But you've got to learn to love those numbers. And I don't need to speak. I've got two CAs coming up and the very brilliant Sybil Kakana with a financial background from a VC point of view. Understand profitability versus cash flow. When you have cash in your hand, it doesn't always mean you're profitable. When you are making a percentage profit, you don't always have cash in the hand. And that sounds complicated, but the headline is if you're not profitable long term, your business won't last, even if you have cash in your hand. Have goals or manage your expenses. The make or break piece on any business. And people always think, oh no, if I just go chase more business, um, people are saying they can't see the presentation just to the group. So when you have goals and nurture them, when you manage your expenses, that is what will determine the profitability. There's comments to the group that they're not able to see the presentation. So you need to know the levers of what makes or breaks the profit. Also have goals and nurture them over time. You need to know when it's working, when it's not working, and you have timelines to measure it. The last thing is for all of you out there who have side hustles, enjoy it when you have it. I call it your FU money. You must have it, everybody in the room, especially for these ladies. Ladies, we always like to look after everybody else. Make sure you have what I call your FU money. When you make money, you designate something, you reward yourself. It is so hard to make extra money. So make sure you reward yourself because you won't keep doing it. So next slide. And that's a big part of rewarding yourself. Now I'm going to give you 3 stories about some of my own businesses. And those of you who are in the first web masterclass would have heard this. I have an export agency, I have a jewelry business, and I have rentals. And these are 3 of my side hustles, and they really make a big difference for me. So the export agencies, I sell handmade arts and crafts to Japan. I think a couple you, Sue, you're in the room. I've represented your products. I've been doing this for 25 years. And I'll tell you, I've never really made a lot of profit on this, but I've always had an ethos of helping out. So when you can, and I use an 80-20 rule, 80% of my time and energy must go to making money, and 20% is when I can indulge a bit. This business, surprisingly, over 25 years, I've helped 120 different artisans and crafters. One year, I had customers come to me from Japan because I only sell to Japan. And they said, we don't like the way the inflation is going up and down and the pricing is changing every 5 minutes. So I fixed the pricing in yen for them. Then when I got my money in and I got paid, I said, whoa, I'm making more money in the Forex than I'm actually making money on the percentage markup. Now I can see Precious laughing at me. So sometimes you will make money in unexpected areas. And remember, it doesn't always last. So enjoy it while it's there. Measure your cost versus return. In this business, I don't really make much, but it costs me nothing. I don't have a catalog. I don't have a website. I don't do any marketing. I don't chase customers. So there's no cost to me. So if I don't make a lot, and I've made 6 to 7 million rand in turnover over the last 25 years, and I'm helping a lot of crafters. So that's where it touches my heart. Then in my jewelry business, this is the one when I mentioned earlier, I had a business that saved my butt. This is that business. So this jewelry business has been around for 17 years. So you can hear when you have a business for a long period of time, it's because you persevered and made it through those tough times. So I just lost my staff member who's been working with me 11 years. So now I'm sitting back in my workshop making things again, and I'm learning I don't like being in production, but this business works. It makes money. I have customers in France, I have customers in the US. I'm getting regular purchase orders every month. It puts money in the bank. Build on what works. Be fearless about what doesn't work. So then you start saying, oh, I don't like this part. I want someone else to help me with this. Know when to build it up. Last year, this business was terrible. This year, this business is doing great. Know when you tighten down. And so you just work with the flows of all those. And then the last one is my rentals. So I've got my husband and I share these rental business together. And when you start to do your business, you say, okay, I love this, but just isn't making enough. I need something else. So that I like real estate. So we are lucky. We have a huge property. We built 2 houses on it. So dream it and dream into you what you want. Build into what you want to dream and what you want to happen. You can dream it into being. Risk what won't ruin you. Because if you're going to make these kind of investments, they're not small. Don't go and say, yeah, I'm going to go buy, borrow this and take this and this money and do this. And hey, look, if you can't afford to risk it, don't do it. Side hustles are not about risking the bank. Side hustles are about nice, steady income over a number of years that keeps on building. I'm sorry, I'm getting a screen on my thing. Kelly, is that you? Can someone remove that? Thank you. Next thing is the bigger the investment, the tighter the controls. So, and you're going to see Precious and you're going to see Kanya, who are both CAs, talk more about tight controls and how do you manage your business. And you heard me. I do SWOTs every year. I do a SWOT on myself. I do a SWOT on each of my businesses. I develop action plans. I have percentage returns I expect from them. And yeah, I don't always make what I want and I always get what I want, but heck, all of them stack up and you start to have a little bit of extra money in the bank. The other thing is watch your expenses like a hawk. This is where it makes or breaks a side hustle. So the last slide. And these are just examples. A number of you have your own side hustles as well. Okay, my biggest 5 lessons. People say to me sometimes, I don't have time to manage the money. And my answer to you is, if you don't have time to manage it, you will not make money. So it's really simple. If you want to be profitable, if you want that side hustle to work for you, you need to put time in it. I have online banking for each of my different side hustles. I've combined a couple of them together under one, but I have them separated out. And I know that Precious is going to talk about this a little later. Very early, and for those of you who are in corporate, when I started out, I didn't know how to manage a small business. I had a bookkeeper sit me down and say, Tamiko, you are messing up. You are putting your business and your personal together, and you don't know where anything separates. She said, you must separate. Loan money to the business in your personal name, pay it back. So you see all these line items. It's the way you keep your cash flows clean. Be strategic. If you don't have goals, you don't have anything to measure yourself against. Build in compliance, particularly when your business starts to make a bit of money, and you're like, oh my God, this spreadsheet. I ran my businesses on spreadsheets for 10 years. So don't be embarrassed if you haven't bought a program. You don't need it. But you'll know when it gets overwhelming and you need it. Measure what you want to achieve. Remember, numbers don't lie. I don't like to look at my financials all the time, but I do manage all my expenses regularly. Make your decision based on your facts. Keep experimenting. Not everything is going to work. Keep trying through things. And those of you who are sitting in the audience know this. Businesses have a sweet spot. And sometimes you're in it and you don't realize, you're like, oh, thank God, I have a bit of extra money. I take the family on holiday. I go buy this nice thing for myself. And then you move on and you don't have such a sweet spot anymore. You're like, oh my gosh, that was the sweet spot. So when you're in there, be in it, enjoy it, and be there. And persevere, stick to it, keep going. Don't keep trying new things and don't ever stop growing. So with that, I'm turning back to Kelly to take us through to Precious and all our other fantastic panelists who are with us today. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Tamiko. Really appreciate that. I think for me, one of the biggest things is that we are not alone. I'm sure we all saw the polls with regards to the feedback in that regard and seeing that we are not alone in this venture. But I think For me personally, as a female, we don't reward ourselves as often. So the if you money, I think it's important that we take time to really look at that. The 80%, business, 20% indulge. Look at that because we need to take time out. And I think one of the biggest things after COVID, if anything, is that we need to take some TLC, for ourselves in that regard. And then with regards to being honest about your capacity is so important. And doing a SWOT on yourself and your business. And so looking at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. And I think for me, one of the things having a side hustle and working for myself now is that understanding that compliance actually equals opportunity. And so when we have our systems in place, when we have our tax spin ready for the next tender, or whatever it might be, that it creates an opportunity. And in that, we will then have an opportunity to experiment as well, because we talk about innovation and there's funding and opportunities for innovation, but we need to experiment, and that goes along with the risk. And so that's just thank you so much, D'Amico, for that. We're going to head into Precious, and we are so excited. Precious is our keynote speaker, and award-winning author and founder of GAD Consultancy, who has empowered over 7,500 SMMEs by bridging the gap between long-term vision and daily operational success. Having served on a board of 20 plus organizations, she brings a master level perspective to institutional accountability and sustainable growth. Currently, she's focused on leveraging AI, the big topic, and circular economy to accelerate development across the commercial farming, bulk industry, and tech sectors. She remains passionate catalyst for nurturing leaders who inspire lasting change within their communities. So let's welcome Precious. If we can use our applaud button so that we can start being interactive by our reactions, and let's welcome Precious to the stage. Over to you, Precious.
Thank you so much, Kelly. The funny part, when someone is reading your LinkedIn profile, you feel like next time when I'm updating my LinkedIn profile, I'm going to add all my failures. The whole lot will actually not be the same. So that's how I feel right now. And I think that's going to be one of the intense work, add all my failures, because, oh Lord, I have a lot of them. So, and thank you so much, D'Amico, for inviting me. I'm so excited about this. And I've got so much to share. I'm going to try to keep it to the slides, but I will also add in the things that I didn't put on the slides, because I felt, some of the things cannot be crafted because it's such a journey to being in the entrepreneurial space. You just need to throw yourself in it. And sometimes when we're building, we tend to go in put a little bit of a foot in, not put all our foot in. So yes. Thank you. For the next slide, please. I think next two. Since Kelly has done such an amazing profiling, so I'm going to just pass all of these. Okay, so what I also just wanted to share was that one of the biggest things that we take the side hustle as though it's something that is dirty. It's something that, you know what, you should be focusing on the main thing. But I want to say to you guys, having a side hustle have saved me so many times. D'Amico was mentioning her profile on rental. On my side hustle is boards, sitting on boards. It has literally saved me, because you see, when you're sitting on board, you're only attending quarterly. It's one meeting a quarter. But do you know that there was 1 year where that side hustle was the only income for my family? And it ended up being about the average of 2.5 million a year. And that was a side hustle. And the other one that really has saved me also has been really building up myself my business, but at the same time, also trying to figure out how to convert my knowledge to be some sort of an IP, to be some sort of a trademark. And it then helped me to position myself different in the consulting space, and also specialize in a specific space. So, and I think that is what has helped me. Please, next slide. So one of the realities about South African households is that 43% we really are having one income, which is not enough because we're also supporting quite a big number of people, including extended families. And we also know that women in generally do not ask what they are worth. They generally do not price properly. But I also believe the reason why sometimes we actually not pricing ourselves properly is because we actually undermine our achievements and who we are and what is our biggest strength. Next, please. So before we start, I really want to start by saying all what money is really our energy. It only flows where there's clarity and it disappears when there's chaos. Just remember the last time where you would throw a 2,000 Rand or 5,000 Rand or even 1,000 Rand, which you did not plan for. With that, you just say, you know what, I just want to have it in my handbag. Tell me what happened to it. Please put a comment on your chat box. What happened to that 1,000 Rand or 500 Rand or 2,000, whatever? What happened to that 1,000 Rand? It disappeared. It disappeared because it didn't actually have a specific hole that you were supposed to fill in. You are right, it will just disappear, evaporate. Thin air, gone. So we need to understand that money is energy. We need to have a clarity when we're actually getting it. What is it that I'm actually going to be buying and why do I want to buy it? And ladies, I want to emphasize why. Sometimes we want to buy, but we don't understand why. And that I'm going to cover a little bit later when I'm talking about our belief system about money, our belief systems about ourselves. So we also it's almost like that is why other people struggle with money. They end up saying, actually, money caused chaos in my life. Money is not good. It is sometimes these beliefs that make you to have a chaotic relationship with it. So start really being intentional about what is it that you are doing and how you're doing it and why it is important, because it's about making sure even the side hustle is repeatable, is scalable, and is sustainable. Next slide, please. So, as I said earlier, that when you are being systematic, it allows you to just sit back. There is logic. As I generally will say to people that there is a sequence, there is a rhythm, there is also a system of the universe. And most of the things, if you were to read on my slide, I have beliefs, I have thoughts, I have feelings, then I have actions, then I have results. Most of the time, we focus too much on the result. The result is the outcomes. It's too late, is what you are actually getting as an outcome. But the work on making the money, whether it's a hustle, or it's a basic running of your basic business, it really results in your belief system around yourself, the business that you are entering into, plus also how you actually interpret the information that you are actually getting. Because all the information that we get, we serve it to our own perception. We engineer it into a certain way of thinking, and we attach certain feelings around it. And in addition to that, we then will act based on that. And that then gives us the result. Our emphasis most of the time focus too much on the results, and we have not necessarily looked into the beliefs. And I think one of my biggest mistakes with my side hustles, I actually just did not believe in myself enough to know that I can actually turn a board positions that I was at to be a permanent job. I literally did not think and believe that I can actually make this my permanent job. And it didn't matter how many entities I was sitting in. I mean, as Kelly was mentioned, over 20 entities that I was sitting in. I was actually getting extended time, but it was because I was discounting my knowledge and the value that I bring in the table. And therefore, it is important, ladies, to know your strength and validate your strength and build on that strength. So my biggest weakness was not realizing this can actually be my full-time job. You know, can you imagine going on 3-4 meetings and still just somehow end up with 2 million? I mean, isn't that a dream job for anyone? So I do believe that beliefs in self, that understanding of self, that value of valuing yourself is so important, because it then talks to how you position yourself, how you then build a strategy in expanding what you are actually doing. I also wanted to say that, if I can have the next slide, I also just wanted to say that one of the things also, as you are building the side hustle, you're going to need to separate what you are running as a profitable side hustle versus a hobby. And most of the time, the hobby do not have the end and the beginning, because you enjoy doing so much. You need to understand that if you take too long to actually on a hobby, receive of revenue might come back to you on your side hustle and say, no, this is a hobby, this is not a business, which then means you can no longer deduct your business deductions. So you gotta also need to make sure that there's regulations around the side hustle. And I also want to say that one of my side hustles, so I actually spoke to Tamiko about 3-4 years ago when I was telling her about my business, because I normally touch base with her and my strategies where I'm struggling. The current business that I'm now running full time was my side hustle, property development. But before I actually made it to be profitable or to build it to be sustainable, I made so many mistakes on it. So there is several businesses that, because of the nature of the investment, where you're going to make a lot of mistakes on it. Just make sure that as you are making those mistakes, you are learning, you are building yourself up. Right now, I'm literally writing proposals or business plan that are above $1 billion. But it started with a 500,000, 250,000, and then it grew to that. So there are certain businesses that you're going to enter as a side hustle, but you grow structurally and strategically to them. Next slide, please. Okay. I will not go through this. What I also wanted to highlight is that one of the things that one of my biggest mistake with some of when I was making between the side hustle and the hobby was not choosing a side hustle which matches my personality and who I am, which then also talk about knowing who you are and what your purpose in life. So one of my side hustle was a perfume business. And I mean, and my niche was targeting people that I actually will spend 3,000 Rand on a perfume. But that's not my personality. That's not me. So sometimes you might feel that your side hustle is not growing, is not working, is because your spirit and who you are, your nature of who you are, does not align to the personality that is required for that business to thrive. The moment I started choosing businesses that I will feel so comfortable that it feels like home, I started then my business growing. I started realizing that actually where I match my energy and what I stand for, that is where you're going to make more money. So be careful when you're choosing something that you like, which in my case was the perfume, thinking it's going to be a side hustle. It may not be profitable because your energy does not meet, who you are does not match. Next slide. So the biggest killers, not having a pricing strategy. Please remember, the pricing strategy is informed by your business strategy, plus also your positioning, then the pricing. So you will need to follow that order. We've already mentioned about not having books tracking where the money is going, because you know what? A side hustle can actually drag you down. It can drain more money out of you if you are not watching. So keeping track of how much you are putting on your side hustle. Next slide. I think we've already spoken about mixing your personal money and the business. Even if it's a side hustle you are operating at as a sole property, please separate so that you can be able to know when it's time to exit. Over the years, I struggled when I ran and started my business. As a CA, remember, I've studied accounting or business economics since I was 14 years old. Started running my business about 15, 16 years ago. When I'm trying to sit down and run my business, I'm struggling. I'm struggling in so many ways because I'm realizing that in most instances, how we were taught at school versus how a business actually run and grow, it's a total different thing. How we're taught at university, we're taught on big business that the CFO will have 7, 10 people. The financial director will know. But when you're running a business, it's just you. You're a CFO today, you're a COO, and so on. So over time, I then came up and wrote a book, which then helps people to understand that when you have the clear goals, when it's a financial clear goals, that is smart, and you choose based on the goal, it is the goal that tell you what is the right structure. And that right structure will then tell you what obligation falls through. And then which financial concept, and please note, financial concept we're talking about are not just relating to generic, it's also relating to that specific industry, because each industry has its own specific numbers that you should be watching. And that is very important. And then the systems you're going to need to build, the team you're going to actually need to have. Guys, as much as I'm a CA, I understand finance, I still have a team. I have a bookkeeper, I have an accountant, I also have a business coach who's helping me to maneuver because I don't have an industry know-how. I just understand finance. So understand also between industry knowledge versus understanding functional, how the function actually operate. And then the last step is evaluating your goals to see, you know what, reflect and do that SWOT that Tamiko also was talking about. Please don't skip because one feeds into another. I'm not going to indulge too much on this, but the biggest numbers that you must also always know is how much money you're actually making in this, the revenue, the gross profit margin, the cash flow, and also the break-even point. Watch out, especially if you are selling for credit, on the cash flow, because you might find there are instances where you actually sell on a credit, but you are buying on a cash. And that is the biggest weakness. Next slide, please. Okay, I've already spoken about the positioning and your strategy and your pricing strategy and the price. I also want to tie again the pricing to you knowing. And I want to share my example. Years ago, Saika was running an ED program. They had attended one of my training sessions. And at that time, I really needed to have a big brand signing me up on a contract. And Saika was going to be the biggest, because I thought, if my own professional body can actually use my content and my training material, that is aha to the market. But I realized that when I went to Saika, their pricing was so low. And I asked myself, what is the biggest thing that I'm good at? And one of the things that I've always known and understood was that I'm good in actually facilitating. I'm good in actually bringing the know-how, but also letting people to understand and simplify finance. And I started stripping this RFP out. I said, okay, Saka, you're going to need to print the stuff. You're going to need to book the ticket for me. By the time I was done stripping all the things that do not tie to the facilitation, I actually made more money than in any other contract. So it is very important that once you have done your business strategy and your positioning and your pricing strategy, it must talk to what is your biggest value. What is it that you bring into the market that nobody else can do better than you? And that is how you can then build on that. Thank you so much. We can move to the next one. I'm running out of time. Okay, so guys, I put 90 days because I do believe you can do it within 90 days. But I also want to say you can do it even in 30 days, but you can also do it even in 5 years. You're gonna need to build your side hustle to validate. But sometimes when you're validating is when the market is in the deep. So let me make an example. We all know right now in South Africa, the real estate industry is in the deep. It's a buyer's market if you have cash, but even credit is not working. So which means then, even if you get as many clients and trying to validate as much, the economy is down and that specific sector and industry is most affected, it's down. So understand the trends and also where the economy is at in that specific commodity or in that specific sector. So validate at the right time and then build up to systematize, then sell and review. I saw someone saying that they want to grow. The only way you're going to grow is to expand from your strength. What is it that you are good at? And then go more niche in that space so that you find the customers that are always going to buy from you. If you're selling something that you sell once off, like maybe you sell a book, then build a product, multi-layer product, which will make that person to come back and buy from you, whether it's a course or whether it's a coaching session. So figure out how to structure that. And because sometimes sell and review does not mean increasing the number of customers. It just means going deeper on that relationship with that customer if the product is a once-off. And if by your nature of your business, it's a repeat, make sure you keep that customer for a lifetime. Remember, you build a business from the repeat customers, not once off. Okay, I'm on the 5 lessons that I have learned over the years. I think I invest time and money. Everything takes time. There is no quick answers on things. Remember, you are learning. As you learn, you make better decisions. The challenges that you face are there to teach you certain lessons. So therefore, you have to persevere. Always be strategic. Even if you're not sure, just be strategic. Why? When you start getting things wrong, you are able to track back. Don't wait for randomness. Measure what you are doing. Measure both input and output. And also keep on experiencing. Keep on just going on it. And don't be afraid to fail. And I think one of my biggest mistake was being afraid to fail. I think this year I'm hitting the 5-0. I'm literally saying all hell go break loose. If I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna fail on a 1 billion now. I don't care. So that is the space. I wish I had that comfortableness before. I wish when I was 25 I had that aggressiveness. I can only imagine what I could have actually achieved. And keep on perseverance. Actually, never ever give up. Give up when you are on your deathbed, but even then, you still have an opportunity. Okay, I think this was also covered earlier. Thank you. Okay, what you can do, set up 3 SMART goals. Make sure you build asset, revenue, and profit. confirm your business strategy and structure. That's why it's important that it's not the structure that tells the strategy. No, it is the strategy that tells you the structure and the obligations that come. Systematize your business, especially your sales and marketing, and make sure that you identify one finance specialist, someone who you can consult with, even if you are a subject expert in it, and have weekly check-in and check out on your finances. How much money came out, how much money came, so that you can track. You don't just wake up month end and say, yo, what happened? Just pick one and work on it, and work on it consistently. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. I realize I should have actually shared. I will send you, Kelly, a link of my book, and also it comes with an Excel spreadsheet which you can use, a booking which cover all 12 months, and then it summarizes the income statement and the balance sheet. Guys, you don't need a system. You just need a simple Excel spreadsheet that summarizes everything for you. So I will then share that with the link of the book, the third edition, for free, because I'm no longer even selling my book. So
yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Precious. That's amazing. You can drop that link into the chat. I think it would be amazing for all of us. I'm so happy for that resource, Jaylene says. So yes, it's definitely needed. So please pop it into the chat. For me, I just wanting to say the first thing that stood out, my side hustle saved me. Ending of don't be afraid to fail. And I think that's so important, that it's okay to fail because we have learnings thereof. And then I think the biggest thing is that we actually need to start with our belief in ourselves, aligning our side hustle in terms of who we are, and what speaks to us, so that we can also understand our side hustle. So understanding ourselves, we understand our side hustle. But I love this point, and it's very close to my heart. Precious mean build on repeat customers, not grow bigger and bigger and bigger, but that repeat customers. I like to call it legacy clients. And I think it's so important that we build on the relationships that we have. And as females, we are good. I think there was a comment that says like we are nurturers and we are carers. And so it's actually possibly easy for us to network and build on that relationships. So just with that, Precious has already shared amazing resource. She's willing to share it with us. And if there is anyone that has a question for Precious, please, we are going to take one question. Because we are having a breakaway. Precious will be in a breakaway. So if there is any questions for Precious, you can raise your hand. And then if not, we will. Okay. So if we are all good to move on, you can just give me a thumbs up. And we are happy to move on. Awesome. Let me see those thumbs coming through. Awesome. So just before we head into the panel discussion, we are having 3 breakaway rooms. And so the one Precious will be having, and that's going to be focusing on scaling and forecasting your side hustle. So that's really speaking to entrepreneurs running with their multiple businesses as a side hustle. And also, running with multiple businesses in terms of that. Then we have Sybil, who will be addressing how to be funding ready before the funding comes. So, that's also speaking to what Precious spoke about. And then Kanya is going to have how to make social entrepreneurship profitable. And so we know we have this impact project that we have, and then that starts as a side hustle. But how do we actually make it profitable? And how does that look? So just those are the 3 breakaways that will happen after the panel discussion and the Q&A. And so just transitioning into the panel discussion, we're really looking at the sustainable value proposition, and looking at a balance of high energy strategy and real world financial disciplines. And so we are so excited to have Sybil with us, who is the co-founder of Midzi Growth Fund, with over 20 years of experience in the financial services and government sector. Sybil is a seasoned financier and is on the advisory panel of AIfE with a passion for entrepreneurship. Alongside her, we have Kanya, and she's a chartered accountant and a co-founder of the Mustard Finance Group with a distinguished career spanning both the public and private sector. As a technical advisor, she specializes in providing expert deal support and structuring innovative products within the financial services industry. And then lastly, joining them is somebody adding a unique perspective to entrepreneurial journey. We have somebody, a comedian and entrepreneur who understands the side hustle, and he's currently busy with his MBA. So Tomiko will be facilitating the session. So let's welcome them to the floor, and we can just get those round of applause. And as the sessions go, and you're welcome to pop in questions in the chat while we are busy with a panel discussion. Over you to Tomiko.
Great. Thanks so much, Kelly. And Precious, I always love hearing your stories. You and I are exchanging tips, talking about our businesses. So just for all of you in the room, I really love what you said about customers. My business is now 80-90% income based on those old customers. They can sometimes be around there for 20, 25 years. So hang on to them. Really make the most, look after them, spoil them rotten. And that's really what will make your business. So let's get Sybil out here. So I'm very excited to see Sybil as a longtime passionate advocate for AIfE. So Sybil, let's jump right into things. And so Sybil, you really focus as a VC investor on what investors are looking for. What are the top 3 numbers that a side hustler should track monthly to prove profitability and growth even before they have perfect books? What should be included in a side hustle readiness checklist to prepare a venture for future funding? And that can be anything from compliance, customers, key documents, and we can't wait to hear your insights.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Tomiko. Thank you for the introduction, and good day, everyone. My name is Sybil Kekana, and I'm the co-founder of Magic Growth Fund. So some of you might be asking yourself, VC, side hustles, what's going on, So I just want to put things into context. So what has happened in my experience as a funder is that when when entrepreneurs are looking for funding, most of them are just not ready. They're just not ready for funding. So then now I've just recently started my side hustle programs, and just really to understand what's actually happening downstream, because upstream there's businesses that we are looking for, they are not there. If they're there, they don't have some of the documentations ready. Okay, so maybe just by a show of quick of hands, how many of you are busy every day? We are busy every day making sales, taking orders, doing the work, but at the end of the month, there's still no money left. Can I just get an indication? We are all busy. We're hustling. That's what we say. It's a hustling culture. Thank you. This is exactly what actually happens, and that's not a motivation problem, and that's really not a hard work problem. We're all working hard. We are hustling, and the truth is, most people, they miss one thing, that it's a numbers problem. And since it's a numbers problem, we think that we need perfect books, we need an MBA, we need a software, but we actually don't need that. We need clarity, and we need clarity on 3 critical numbers. And before we go back to the numbers, we also need to understand, as a side hustle, why did you start your side hustle? That's very, very critical. And I'm glad that Precious covered on the passion and the profit. So there's a sweet spot somewhere where they say willingness to pay and your passion. So there's somebody who's paying and there's a passion. Then you can talk profitability there. So why did you start your side hustle? If you started your side hustle because you wanted extra income, you may tolerate a lower profit because you are profitable. And if you want financial freedom, because others, they say, I want financial freedom, hence I'm doing my full-time job and this part-time side hustle, then profitability becomes non-negotiable. So now this is where the critical numbers needs to be tracked like every day. And if you want to set up a future business, scalability becomes key. So then now it means at some point you are going to leave the side hustle and come into having a full-time business. Now let's strip out the noise and understand what are these three numbers. Okay. Firstly, the first number is revenue. Revenue, what does revenue mean? Money that actually came into the business. Money that actually came into the business. No invoice, no purchase orders, no that they said they'll pay me next week, nothing of that. Money actually in the bank account. That's what you need. And now we're talking revenue. Because other than that, it's like nothing else matters. That's the first number. The second number is your profit. And profit meaning all the money that is left after you have paid all your expenses, like you've covered all of the costs, then we're talking profit, okay? So if there is no money left, you've been busy the whole month, you've been hustling, then you don't have a business as yet. You have a very expensive habit and you are subsidizing it. So we need to be clear about that. And then the third number, which is the most critical number, it's the customers. How many customers do you have? New customers every month. And the main number is the repeat customers. Okay. The repeat customers. How many are they repeating? Why? Because repeat customers proves that your business works. The customers that come and go, it's like they were just trying you. So the key is making sure that repeat customers are serviced regularly and that you can get the business from them on a regular basis. Okay. Now bringing it together, if these three numbers are not improving on a month-on-month basis, more money coming in, more money staying, more customers coming back. If these numbers are not showing that, then you're not having a business. But if these numbers are improving month on month, quarter by quarter, year on year, then your business is growing. And even if your customers, even if you don't have systems, if your systems are not perfect, but then now it means the business is growing. Okay. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how busy you are. It's about whether your numbers are telling a story of growth or just effort. Are you growing or is it just an effort? Okay. So now coming to the funding readiness, like the hustling, I call it hustling readiness. No investor, no funder will fund a side hustle. So what we're talking about here, we say get ready. If now we're going back to the reason why you started your side hustle, you want to scale, you want a financial freedom, you want to grow. So now let's start with that culture, that mindset, day one. So getting a side hustle funding ready, it means that you require a different mindset. So now the mindset moves from hustling to founder. So now this is where there's a small distinction between I'm a startup or I'm hustling. Okay. So that mindset shift, it's very, very critical. Why? Because if you don't have that mindset and you apply for funding, the funding due diligence is going to uncover all of those shortcuts that you took. Okay. Now let's look at the checklist, and I've put them into 4 buckets or 4 pillars. Pillar number 1, compliance. Okay. So compliance, what does compliance mean? It means that your business is credible. You've moved from a side hustle into a credible startup. And what does credibility mean? Credibility, compliance means you are credible. And if you are credible, it means you are fundable. So what are the things that you need to put in place? You need a registered business. You need to register your business. You need to register with South African Revenue Services. You need any licenses or businesses that your business is doing. Or if there's any IP, intellectual property that's owned by somebody, all of those. Okay, that's number one. That's compliance. Number two, cash flow. This is where most side hustles break because funders are looking for proof. They are not looking for opinion. They're looking for proof. And where is that proof? That proof is in your basic financial records. What are the basic financial records? You have at least a statement that shows that revenue that's coming from customers. You have bank statements that supports that. And remember, your bank account, your business bank account, it's separate from your personal bank account. You have a simple financial reporting. And this may not be perfect, but what funders are looking for is the discipline, because then now that discipline of having those financial records and showing that you're tracking them, you understand the numbers is critical. Number three, the customers. So customer traction, proof of demand. We've talked about it. The proof of paying customers. So without paying customers, there is no business. So what is it that we're looking for? Customer feedback, any records that shows customer sales. And then lastly is the documents. What are the documents? We call this the data room. So the data room and your story. So the data room must be ready at any point in time. What's in the data room? Firstly, a one-page summary of your business or business model canvas. Two, your financial model. And your financial model needs to show projections. And the projections must be realistic, not like pie in the sky numbers that are highly optimistic. Okay? And then your traction story. What's your traction story? Showing how are you planning to grow and where are you going to go? Where is this growth going to come? And then fourthly, the serviceable market, the total addressable market, the demand. Where's the demand? Because it's all about growth. And then lastly, the clear use of funds. I need this money because I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So funding doesn't fund your business today. It funds your business going forward. That's the main thing. And then the other important thing is the founder's readiness. You need to be ready. So what does this mean? So there's this notion that they fund the jockey, not the horse. So meaning you as the founder, now you're the founder, you're no longer hustling. As the founder, are you ready? Are you ready to move your business from part-time to full-time? Can you scale the business? Okay. And then I know some of you might be thinking, no, but then I need the funding. Don't tell me this, I all know. Yes, that's true. We all need the funding. But what funders are looking for? They're looking for proof of demand, is the customer pay, revenue, and then your understanding of your business. So in closing, so for as long as you can demonstrate that your business is compliant, you can demonstrate the revenue numbers, you can demonstrate the documentation that's needed, then you move from being a risk to being an opportunity. Thank you. Thanks.
Great, Sybil. And moving from being a risk to being an opportunity. And I think that's such a critical thing. And Sybil, I put them in the chat, a couple of your notes. If I've missed anything, please have a look and add anything here. But I think what's really critical about what Sybil is saying is that we're talking about, and I can't tell you how many phone calls I get personally as the executive director of AIfE. Tamiko, I need 100K, I need 300K immediately, like tomorrow. It's like funding is not for today, it's for tomorrow. So when you're out there hustling and asking for that money, VC investors like Sybil are going to be saying, I don't want to give you money that you're going to plug into your business today. I'm giving in to invest in you for where you're going to grow. So thank you so much, Sybil. Much appreciated. And let's go to our next person. Let's go to Kanya. So thanks, Sybil. And let's get Kanya up on the screen.
Thank you.
So we've got Kanya is another CA. So today we're getting all the best tips from CAs and financial sector. And then when we all finish with this, we're going to have hopefully a little bit of comedic relief with summary. So Kanya, cash flow reality. And I've seen your comments in the chat to everybody. So side hustles are often seasonal. How do you manage irregular income so that you still pay yourself and stay profitable? What do you say to someone who wants to gradually scale this hustle? And I think this is really a specialty of yours, is moving from corporate into the side hustle world. And I fully understand this. I have 8 years in corporate, now 25 years out. So that is a really tough transition. So what is it you say to someone who wants to scale their side hustle to take it full time? Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tamiko, and thank you as well to fellow speakers and panelists. It's been so good and so many nuggets, and I'm getting exactly what I actually wanted, which is to learn, not just to contribute. So before I actually get into answering those specific questions, side hustles are something that is very close to me, beyond just my own side hustles. I come from a family of side hustlers. I don't remember a time when my mother didn't have a business, whether it was a takeaway business, whether it was a hair salon, or actually selling freshly slaughtered chicken. So I've seen her do everything. And yet all of those businesses eventually failed. And it failed primarily because of, number one, everything that has been spoken about, right? Having those systems, having those processes in place. But I also just think that sometimes, to take it a step back and a bit more philosophically, when people move into side hustles, they move from a place of desperation rather than a place of conviction. And there's something that Precious already said. Sorry, is there an issue with my connection? Can you guys hear me?
There's a slight lag, Kanya. I'm not too sure if you, because I think there's so much nuggets already that you are pulling through. Maybe if you put off your camera for a little bit and see if that's better. But there's a slight lag on the video. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. How's it now?
It's much better.
Okay, awesome. So then I need to rush through this in that case. I think that it's that whole thing of backing yourself and understanding that you actually, if you even come up with a business idea, it usually is actually necessary and there's value that you can actually put out there into the world. So rather than just looking at it as a thing of, I need to make money, actually look at the fact that I have talents, I have skills, I have opportunities, and I have something to give to the world. Because like I'm saying, with my mother, all those businesses were incredibly successful in terms of bringing in customers. So it means that she actually was good and she actually was adding value to people's lives. It's then not being able to back it up with the operational systemization that we are speaking about. And so just to actually really reiterate that, to say, before we even get into the nitty-gritties and get into, this is what you do, this is what you track, please understand that if you do have a side hustle, it most likely is important. And if it isn't important, and if it isn't going to add value into, community, then perhaps, relook it. That then will come back into our second part of the question. So seasonal income, how do you handle that? I think it's been touched on already so many times. Track everything, right? Books are important. I know that sometimes it scares, some people to, have a Xero account or a Sage account or any of that. But those things are important and it will actually help you, because at the end of the day, it's going to assist you in terms of getting your understanding of what your gross profit margin is, what your net profit margin is, but also to then see, okay, where am I bleeding money? Where am I losing money, right? Because I know sometimes you speak about, I need to increase the price, but sometimes it could just actually be that you might just be a bit ill-disciplined. And that also comes from, not seeing your business separately, just, once again, if you started it because you need money. Once that money comes in, you take yourself on a very nice holiday to Sun City, right? But if you actually are looking at it and saying that there's so much value in what I'm doing, you take your business super seriously. So once you get those numbers, pay yourself a salary. Don't take all of the money out of the business. And even before you actually pay yourself a salary, I would really actually recommend saving for 3 months, right? So let's say you've got your corporate job, save 3 months of whatever profit that you're getting from your side hustle and don't actually use it. Invest in the business, right? And then most importantly, understand your business. When you think about seasonal side hustles, you're thinking of like maybe you are a matric dance tailor, for example, right? You're really good at it, and people really like your work. Then in that case, you have to say, okay, maybe I need to find something else to do. But ultimately, in all of these things, you just want to make sure that you are aligning. So I think it's about tracking everything. You want to pay yourself a salary. You don't want to look at the side hustle as something to help you with, your little your desires. Take what you are bringing into the world seriously and actually see it as something that can grow. And I think that then leads me to my second part. How do you then pivot from it just being a side hustle to potentially, it being something that you do full time? I know when I started the business that I currently am in, I did it as a side hustle while I was still in my corporate job. And ultimately for me, I think once again, going back to that thing of saying, I'm not just doing this so that I can make money. I have a purpose. This actually adds value into the world. It was always my intention that ultimately this is going to grow. So back yourself to say that, okay, this is something that is going to grow. And that means that you have to ask yourself some very important questions and be incredibly honest with yourself. Are you an entrepreneur, right? Because entrepreneurship is incredibly difficult, and you can put all the plans in place, but once you make that jump, there are all sorts of challenges that are going to come at you. So you have to sit down and have that honesty with yourself to say, am I an entrepreneur? Number two, you don't actually want to move from your corporate job, especially if you have family responsibilities, if you don't yet have systems in place. Many people, once again, I'll go back to the example of my mother, people are coming in, the takeaways are flying off the shelf, there's no food left, by 1 o'clock, right? And then you just think, oh my word, you know what, this is working. Let me, just do this full time. But you don't have any systems in place. You don't have any processes in place. That is so incredible that you need to have those in place before you actually then jump ship. Number two, you want to sort of track and see that can the profit from your side hustle actually cover at least 80% of what your current salary is from a corporate perspective, right? There are people who will leave because they have very strong conviction in what they are doing. They're going to reach out to Sybil for VC funding and all of that. But once again, if you have family, it's not that easy. So you want to actually push yourself to get your side hustle to a point where it can cover 70 to 80% of what your current corporate salary is. Stress test your business. Don't now build your business in isolation. Get in touch with AIFE, other entrepreneurial networks, to actually stress test your business, get mentors, get coaches, because you actually are now beginning that process of pivoting, and you want to make sure that you have the relevant support, not just in terms of systems, but also the people that you are surrounding yourself with. And ultimately, once again, we are sitting with 58% youth unemployment, crisis in this country. The fact that you guys are here means that you're wanting to actually add value. And it's just to say that you can do it. You really can. Like there are people who started spaza stores, just outside of their garages, and now they have like a mini supermarket and they are employing people. And I just think that, if you guys walk away from this just with the whole idea of how can I make more money for myself, we're losing the opportunity for you to actually have a more fulfilling, purposeful life, and for you to actually add a lot of value, to our country. So I always want to encourage people to say that, as difficult as it is, really consider that if you have a really good idea, and very, very important, before you transition, make sure you size the market well. This is very important, right? So you know, don't sacrifice a lot for, something that, when you scale it, the scalable impact might not be as much. So really look into what is the market. I wish you guys all the best. I'm going to switch on my video now because hopefully it's not going to be an issue.
Thank you so much, Kanya, and some great insights coming in there about making that corporate leap. There's a lot of you sitting in the audience who have made that leap, and you know how hard it is once you've left that salary behind. I myself, Kanya, had no choice. I lost my job, so it was very simple, and really great insights. And now we're going to come for the fun part of everything. I hope you're feeling better, Summary. He was a little under the weather. So let's have a little comedic relief after all these fantastic and great insights from our CAs and our financial people. And with this, we hand over to Summary. And for those of you who don't know him, Summary's got multiple hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram and Facebook. And here is our very famous Summary, who is getting an MBA and also moving into a whole nother level for himself as an entrepreneur. So this is a great start to hearing someone else coming into this world. So Summary, we hand over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samaril, and I have a happy. So I woke up there's a song that says, I woke up like this. So I woke up like this, and then I thought to myself, yo. Do I still continue with the master class? Or so I just thought, you know what, let me just show up. This is an example that whatever that you do in life, just show up, because you don't know who's in the room. So if it's not life-threatening, make means. And yeah, my name is Samari. I'm from Orange Farm. I'm a stand-up comedian. I've been doing comedy for the past 11 years. This year, actually, I'm doing it's my 11th year doing comedy. And just last week, Saturday, I was at the Savannah Comics Choice Comedy Awards. I was performing there, and I was also nominated for an award. I didn't win, but I performed, so at least I won something there. So if you look like me and you have this, hippies or whatever, guys, go out there and do it anyway. So I started doing comedy in 2015. I was working at a logistics company prior to resigning. I was a very energetic child, and I failed twice in high school. And then right then I knew that, you know what, it seems like I might not have a future here. So I need to dig deep and find myself. Who am I? What is going on? So I failed grade 10 and I failed grade 11. By the time I was doing grade 11 again, my peers were graduating at college. Some were doing, third year in the universities. And I persevered until I finished my matric. And after I finished my matric, I knew that, okay, I know for a fact that I'm not going to university, because as an energetic child, I didn't have the capacity. I was a very bubbly child, so I couldn't concentrate in class. I was very, very energetic. So it was hard for me to concentrate. And by the time I finished my matric, I failed mathematics. I failed, but at least I passed matric with, average grade. And then I looked for a job, and I got a job. I got a learnership at the Bidvest Panel Logistics. And I worked there for 6 years. I was in the warehouse. I worked there for 6 years. And over time, when I was working, I remember I got 2 written warnings from my manager saying that, you know what, this is not a playground. I'm always making people laugh at work. And they're always looking for me via intercom. Summary, where are you? Summary, where are you? They will find me in another department. Sometimes I'm at finance. Sometimes I'm in the warehouse driving a forklift. Driving the forklift. So I I got written warning. Then they said to me, if you do this thing again, you're gonna go home. And I remember going home and telling my mother, I'm like, Mom, I know I'm a breadwinner. And by the way, I'm from a family of 10. And I'm a second born. I'm a family of 10, Orange Farm, growing up in that shack. And we were 10 in that shack. That shack only had 2 rooms. We just divided with, those shacks, you just use a cloth, just a huge cloth that divides the rooms. And I remember telling my mother, I'm like, you know what? I understand that I'm a breadwinner here, and I understand that, I'm doing something. But a part of me, and I know you know it too, I don't belong at work. I, I don't like it, number one. Number two, I don't feel like I belong there. Every time when I go there, I'm just upset because I used to travel by train. So from Orange Farm to Johannesburg, from Johannesburg to Kempton Park, I would make people laugh every single day in that train, every day, every day. And I was a very young child, so like I would make them laugh, and they were like, "Hey man, you are wasting your time here. Why are you not doing comedy?" And at the time, because I grew up without a TV at home, so I didn't even know anything about these comedy shows and whatever. I would hear people saying there's a show called So You Think You're Funny and whatnot, but I haven't watched it. I didn't know about it because we didn't have a TV at home. But I was a very funny person. And when I was still working, I understood that, you know what? I have this talent. I'm good when it comes to people. I think I'm good with that. And I make people laugh every day. I think this is what I want to do. So this other day, there's a friend of mine from church. He says to me, "Hey man, you are always making us laugh here at church and every day, blah, blah, blah. So I need you to go to, I will buy you a ticket. Let's go to a show so that you can see this whole comedy thing." And then I went, and then when I was watching that comedy show, I was like, you know what? I think this is what I have to do. I'm good at this. And came 2015, I resigned. I didn't tell my parents because I knew if I tell them, they're going to, talk me over. "No, don't resign. You are feeding everyone. We are looking up to you. You are the one paying." I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to resign. And I did just that. I resigned. I didn't tell them. But what came after was the harsh reality that it was so hard because I didn't have experience. I didn't know where to go. The only thing that I had, like when I was listening to everyone talking about risks, I knew that I was a funny person and I'm willing to take this risk and do this comedy thing. And I started going all over the place, asking people where can I perform. And then that's how it began. From one comedy show to another, from one comedy show to another. And a year later, I was now known as this newcomer. And I started making money. I started making money. So in comedy, we have what we call club gigs, we have theater shows, and then we have festivals. Your Savannah Comic Shows Comedy Awards, your Comedy Centrals, and so I started with club gigs, and then my name started to grow, and then I was booked from this, and then the following year, 2016, I was nominated for the Savannah Comic Shows Award, and then I won my first award in 2016, and I never looked back. So what I did with my career was an instinct thing. I don't want to lie to people here and try to sound smart and intelligent. My business was through an instinct. My business was through a firm belief in myself. So I don't have a business jargon, business terms, and say, the invoices and then, B2B. So for me, it was an instinct thing. My business was from a stubborn faith that I had in myself. I knew that I was a funny person, and I knew that this is what I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing. No matter how long this will take, it might take 10 years. And I think the biggest mistake that we do as people, we put a time frame in our dreams. And I know that, yes, it is there, but I'm saying so much pressure in our life, because when we say, okay, at 40, I must have this. And when that 40 hit and you don't have that, you start looking at yourself differently. You think you are a failure. You think you must do something. And that's when people get anxiety. So with me, I was so fair and loving and kind to myself. I was like, if I am in this thing for a long time, I don't have to put time. I just have to trust the process and put in the work. Whenever that work meets and that opportunity, whichever day that would be, then I'll be ready then. I think Sybil and Precious, they talked about, I think it was Sybil, about you better be ready for that opportunity, because people apply for these tenders, for this funding, but they don't have, they've never registered their business through the CIPC. They don't have the tax pin. They don't have the BE certificate. They have nothing. So that being said, I wanted to put in the work so that one day when people know that there's a person called Summary, that opportunity meet that preparedness, then I knew I was going to hit hard. And for me, that's my line of business. My business came through faith, self-belief, and trusting the process. Only now, that's when I was like, okay, you know what, Samar, now that you've become this renowned comedian in the country, with the little that you've made, what can you do? Now that's when I started paying for myself to pursue what the MBA journey. That's what I'm in now. But for the first 9 years of my life, I was just trusting the process, self-belief, and having that strong faith that it'll work. Only now that I understand what I'm doing, I'm like, okay, now let's put sense into this. I hope my clumsy story makes sense to everyone. That's my story. It was through self-belief, instinct, trusting the process. That's it.
We love it. We love it, Summary. And I think this is the heart of entrepreneurship. Everyone has a different journey. Everyone comes to it in a different place. And I can tell you, Summary, when I first started my businesses, I rocked up in Japan with no price list. I didn't have any idea. I didn't even know how to sit and write an order. So don't, and I had a master's degree and I had business experience. So just because you have the degrees and you have the experience doesn't mean you know how to run a business. So kudos to you. Trust the process, having stubborn faith in yourself, and knowing what your real mission is about. And I think what I really look forward to, Summary, as someone who supports and helps entrepreneurs, is the next leg on where you're going to take it. And this is this place where you've reached a plateau, you're in a sweet spot. And now what's the next level and the next journey that you're going to take beyond that? So we really look forward to seeing that. And so thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure people are going to want to chat to you if you're feeling well enough to hang around. So now I'm going to go back to Kelly and let Kelly introduce the next leg of what's going to happen.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tamiko. And thank you so much, panelists. I think we can just give them a round of applause in our reactions. And I think it's so amazing that somebody actually just summarized everything from Precious to Sybil to Kanya, just in terms of you need to ask yourself the hard questions. Am I an entrepreneur? Just showing up, identifying your skills and your opportunities, and that why did I start my side hustle? In that regard. And so it's so beautiful just in one session that we don't know each other, all walks of life, but we actually speak in the same thing in that regard. So what's going to happen next is that you'll see that there will be 3 breakaways that will be popping up. And so in breakaway room number 1, we'll have Sybil. So we were going to have the main room, but we are having 3 breakaway rooms. So if you are wanting to chat to Sybil in terms of how to be funding ready, she'll be in breakaway room. So you'll see it will pop up shortly. And then in breakaway 2, Kanya will be there. So if you are a social entrepreneur, and you are doing a lot of work in the community, and you're wanting to see what is that impact, that will then be breakaway number 2, and then precious will be in breakaway 3. And that will be the scaling and forecasting of your side hustle. So we've gotten an introduction in terms of all of them in the session. And then, Nolene, if you can just put up the breakaway there we go. So you'll see by the 3 dots in the circle, you'll click on that, and the breakaway is popping up now. So number 1 will be Sybil, number 2 will be Kanya, and then number 3 will be Precious, and then we will literally have 20 minutes, and because so that will take us to 10 past, and then we'll just join in again automatically. You'll come back into the room, and then we'll just do a close, so you can start joining those rooms now. We'll see you.
Sorry, Kelly, just repeat that again. Room 1 is Precious. Room 2 is Sybil. Is that right?
No. Room one is Sybil. Room 2 is Kanya, and room 3 is Precious.
And we will not be coming back into this main thing for everyone.
We will for the last 5 minutes just to wrap up.
Okay, so we'll see everybody back if you're able to go. So please join one of the 3 rooms. Is everyone good on that? Everyone understand? If you got any questions, put them in the chat and we can answer them here.
Thanks, everyone.
can make an agreement. Okay, we're back.
Oh, Peg.
Oh, that was
Um,
very quick. Here we
that was
go.
very fast.
Love it.
I think, yeah, so I know we were still very much in conversation. Shanaz, I'm so sorry for cutting you off. But I think we got so much insights just in terms of the conversation, and I think it's the same for all of the breakaway rooms. So I think one of the biggest things is that in the chat, you'll see that all of the information of the panelists and the keynote speaker is in the chats. And so please do, you're welcome to follow them and follow up the conversation. Like we said, it's about connecting. And so we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out today in terms of joining us. And then we have a last little notice before we head out. So on the 27th of May, we're asking you to save the date. That's month in. And we're actually having our last masterclass for the year. And it is how to use AI and other tools in terms of your side hustle. And I think it's such a needed conversation because AI is booming. And some of us, we either on the train or we're running after the train. We want to be in the train. And so we are really inviting you to come and jump on the train with us and really just look in terms of the marketing. And so we are also quite excited that we have spent time with you and also just engaging to really help you scale, empower, grow, stretch your side hustle in that regard. And so we really trust that you have had the right questions asked during the session to help you really stir what it is that you have. What that's lacking, and back to the SWOT analysis, looking at your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats in that. And then lastly, I just want to say a huge thank you to Precious. Your insights was truly amazing. We can give some hearts and a round of applause in our reactions. And then as well as Sybil and Kanya, you have also shared not just insights, but your passion and your love and your personal experiences with us. And then in Samarini's absence, despite his health, he has joined us and also just sharing that story in terms of just showing up. So we want to say thank you for just showing up. And we ask you to continue to have stubborn faith, to trust the process, believe in yourself, in your side hustle, and know that you are not your circumstances. We all come from different upbringings, but we have made a success of our side hustle until now, and possibly we're trusting that you are able to scale. So thank you so much, and we are hoping to see you on the 27th of May at our next masterclass. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day further. Bye.